Hey there, Cowboys fans, and welcome into the Cowboys Report presented by the Guild. I am Brett Scott. This is Tom Downey. Tom, I needed something to do at the office today, so you're not by yourself giving off rumors.
Okay, that's fair.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
Plus,
enough. We have a mock draft, which I love.
We've got 12 rumors to get through today. We've got Tom's 7-round mock draft simulation. Spoiler alert, he's fixed all that ails the Dallas Cowboys.
I did it. I'm the new GM. Make it happen.
Make it happen. Jerry, Steven, Tom Downey. He's right here. But let's get into it. Let's talk about these rumors first and foremost. How about Kenny Vaccaro? Tom, we've talked about it a couple of times already. Let's talk about it again. Is he coming to Dallas? What are we giving this one?
It's now in the rumor category, so we're giving it 2 stars because the Dallas Morning News has said it's an option. So at that point, it's no longer just me wanting it to happen. It now falls in that rumor category. Brett, I would love it if this actually ends up happening. This is, I think, a perfect fit for what Dallas needs in the back end.
This is your guy. He's a #1 free agent for Tom Downey right here. Dallas Morning News is talking about it. People are talking about it. That's why we're giving it 2 stars on our rumor-o-meter. Let's see what that rumor-o-meter sets up to look like. Hey, we've got 12 of them to get through, so we've got a lot of stars to throw at you. One thing that we may not throw at you are 0 stars, and that's the amount of fights that OBJ has won versus the net. We had to change it, Tom, because the Eagles somehow won a Super Bowl.
Still upset about it.
I don't get it. I feel like it didn't happen, but it somehow did, so we have to change our 0 stars. That's what won. We love it. 1 star, small shred of truth. 2 stars, the people are talking. Could go either way. It's firmly in that rumor category. 3 stars, it's pretty likely it's getting there. 4 stars, Dez caught it. If those were catches in the Super Bowl, Dez definitely caught it as well.
Especially the Corey Clement one.
Yeah,
come on, that ball's moving all over the place.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to rumor number 2 here. Byron Jones, is he getting ready to move to cornerback? Tom, you've been talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. Other people are talking about it now, 2 stars.
Yeah, now in the rumor category as well, just like Kenny Vaccaro. Todd Archer says that the Cowboys are considering it. Just make it happen. I think he's a perfect fit under Chris Richard as a cornerback. It, I think, really solidifies that cornerback position. Byron Jones, Awuzie on the outside. Jordan Lewis becomes the NFL's best slot guy. Anthony Brown becomes the #4 where he's probably more suited to be at anyway. Got
a lot of people checking in the comments already. We got people from Arizona, Delaware, right here in Texas. We love you guys here on the Cowboys Report. Get those comments in. We'll answer your questions as we go along throughout the show. Number 3 on the rumor meter. Let's go to Emmanuel Sanders joining the Cowboys. More people are talking, Tom.
And I like this one. And normally I'm the bearer of bad news, but this is also a 2-star rumor because there was a report from a friend of the show, Bobby Belt, that Emmanuel Sanders, if he does leave Denver, he wants to come back home and play for the Cowboys. Now, this is not as simple as, let's just do it. Sanders is a very heavy contract, $11 million salary. The Broncos are trying to trade him, and they haven't had much interest because who wants to take on that salary for an aging receiver? But if Sanders is cut, and let's say he takes a $5 or $6 million per year contract, that's when I think he makes sense for the Cowboys if he takes that discount to come back and play in Dallas.
Yeah, we'll bring up a reaction poll here. There's been a lot of talk about Sanders as it relates to Dez Bryant and what would happen. I don't think it's an either-or here, Tom. We'll give you guys the options here. Dez is a heart, like for Sanders. Both give me a wow face. That's what I'm going to throw up. Ha-ha for neither, and you just cut everybody and start over.
I think you can actually get both, and that's what I'm most excited about. I think you can get Dez Bryant, and if Sanders is cut, which he may or may not be, Ian Rappaport said that it didn't seem all that likely. If he is cut, that's where I think Sanders makes a lot of sense, and I would love to bring him in. I think he is a perfect receiver for Dak Prescott. He gets open with separation, unlike Terrence Williams, unlike Dez Bryant at this point in his career.
All right, quick word here. Today's Cowboys Report is sponsored by the Guild. Visit stayguild.com. Use that promo code CHATSPORTS for 15% off your stay in Austin, Dallas, Nashville, or Miami. Boston coming soon as well. Luxury lodging at the best residential buildings. It's like a luxury Airbnb. Comes with that virtual concierge, Tom. Stayguild.com. Use that promo code ChatSports. Before we move on to some more rumors, I've got a few comments that I've got to get to.
Okay.
One here, where'd it go? Troy says, Jones is a safety. This is common sense. Hello.
He is a free safety / cornerback hybrid. They have forced him to play the strong safety role, which doesn't make any sense for Byron Jones. He's not a great tackler. He's not a run stopper. They put him at strong safety. That's a bad fit for him. You put him at free safety or corner, either one, it makes sense. But he was drafted as a free safety cornerback hybrid. I want to see him go play corner.
One more, producer Lena, I want to get to. I'm trying to find it. Where did it go? Casey, what about Earl Thomas?
Earl Thomas doesn't seem all that likely at this point. I think he's kind of used the Cowboys as leverage to get a bigger contract from Seattle. But hey, we'll wait and see. I think next year maybe it's a little bit more likely that you could see Earl Thomas and the Cowboys actually pick up steam.
All right, let's get back into these rumors here. Number 3 here, Zach Martin extension. Is it coming soon?
Number 4, and yeah, it's going to come soon.
Yeah, number 4.
Look, I think the Combine, and this is what it's been reported as well, I think the Combine makes sense. That's the time where you can see the Cowboys and Martin sit down and work a little bit further in this contract discussion. It's going to get done. It's just a matter of when and how much. And I think you'll see Zach Martin get a very hefty contract. We'll likely make him the highest paid guard in the NFL. And frankly, he's worth every cent because he is absolutely incredible. Just think if the Cowboys had drafted Johnny Manziel instead of Zach Martin.
We'll get there.
Hint, hint.
Hint,
later in
hint.
the show.
That's called foreshadowing in the business. All right, number 5, Dallas needs to change the offensive system. Drew Pearson's off talking.
Hey, the OG88 is right now.
Yeah.
He is absolutely correct because the Cowboys do need to change the offensive system. If I see a bunch of routes where the receivers run straight and turn back around again, I'm going to be really upset this year. And Pearson said he's heard from Cowboys both privately and in the public, which we've seen the public ones, i.e. Dez Bryant, that they didn't like the system because they were more or less told, hey, go run go routes and go run curl routes that are 20 yards downfield. And you wonder why no one's open because they're just running straight. So I do think the system needs to change. Now, that's not just the system. The players need to do some better work as well. But the system absolutely cannot be the same as it was last year. It just can't be.
Yeah, adjustments have to happen. The league had seen 1 year of Dak and Zeke. Year 2 obviously took a step backwards, suspensions and everything included. Year 3, Cowboys now have to make their adjustments back and take that step forward, or people are really going to be talking about things here in Dallas. All right, number 6, Tom. We've talked about the linebacker position. How about Derrick Johnson, the former Chief?
This is very much people are talking. There was some speculation in the USA Today. There's been a lot of it on social media as well, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, etc. I would be okay with this actually because I love Derrick Johnson. He's coming back home to an extent because he played at Texas. I'll mention this though, and I have a new abbreviation for you, Brett. ATRP.
Oh, Tom.
At the right price. There you go.
All right.
So you actually like that one.
So here we go. So off-season drinking game.
Yeah.
When Tom says ball skills, drink.
I'm going to say it again later
When Tom
today.
says ATRP at the right price, drink.
And when I go on a secondary rant, you chug all the rest of your drinks.
Secondary rants, chug everything.
No secondary rants today. But back to Derrick Johnson. Look, he's 35 years old. He is not the same player he once was. He's still a very solid, maybe a below-average starter. I don't know, even if he is coming back home to Dallas, if he wants to be the cheap backup, which is what he would likely be for Dallas, because I really think the Cowboys are ready to go Sean Lee and Jalen Smith going forward, maybe Anthony Hitchens as well, but they're not going to throw $5 million at Derrick Johnson.
Look,
that's not their plan.
Derrick Johnson's had a great career, but is he that much different than Wilbur or Durant at this point? Obviously, he brings a lot of veteran type of leadership and knowledge, but on the field?
I think next year, Derrick Johnson, I don't know, because look, the man's had 2 serious leg injuries. He's 35 years old. I think he's better than a Durant and a Wilbur, but I actually don't know if he's better than Anthony Hitchens.
Right.
So at that point, you don't want to throw a lot of money at him, but I am okay with this because it is Derrick Johnson and everyone loves him.
All right,
and I understand that.
Let's get into the Dez Bryant portion of the rumor-o-meter here on the Cowboys Report. Should the Cowboys cut Dez?
So this is coming in from one Stephen A. Smith. So A, grain of salt.
So B, people are talking.
B, people are talking.
Because Stephen A. Smith talks.
He talks a lot. So there's 2 things that Stephen A. Smith said that were actually right. He said that Bryant is not worth $16 million per year, which he's not, but that he can also still ball, but isn't elite, and that's right.
Okay.
So I don't know why the end result is cut him. That just he was right. He's not worth $16 million, but he can still play. The Cowboys have nothing behind him in all reality. So why is the answer to cut him? That's what I don't understand. You were so close, Stephen A. You had the right mindset. You don't cut him though, because you have nothing behind him unless you have a better plan in the draft or free agency, which as of right now you're gonna have a tough time actually finding.
Antonio saying pay cut, pay cut, pay cut.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the flip side. Maybe not a pay cut. How about an extension though?
So this coming in from Ian Rappaport, and again, people are very much talking
a lot about Dez.
2 stars on this one because Rap Sheet says it's more likely that he's extended than he's cut. Now, when I say extension, and I think Rappaport means this, maybe he doesn't even realize it. It doesn't necessarily
more like a restructure.
It doesn't even necessarily mean like a 5-year extension. You could do a year or 2. It's all designed to get that cap hit down. 2 options. One, and this would be ideal, you move some of his salary into incentives. Now, the way it works is that you can give incentives, but if they're not likely to be earned, they won't count against your cap hit. Well, the NFL determines that based on what they did last year. So the Cowboys could reshuffle like $5 million of Dez's salary into incentives, and if he gets 70 catches, 839 yards, and 7 TDs, he gets back to his original amount, which is doable for Dez. But at the same time, Dez is going to be like, just pay
Why
me.
would I do it?
Just pay me. The other option.
It's a game of chicken.
Exactly. The other option, and this might be a little bit more likely, is that you add a voidable third year to the 2 years that he has left on his contract. So you give him an extension in that way. And it ends up turning the cap hit that's spaced out over the next couple of years. I see Brett geeking out in the corner here. I don't know what kind of comment you got.
I got a great comment,
but we'll
coming
get to
up,
it here in a
guys.
second. So the cap hit, if you do this voidable year, it goes down to $8.77 million for 2018. Cowboys free up half of the cap hit. The flip side is his 2019 cap hit becomes $20 million with a dead cap hit of 10. So you free it up this year, but you only kick the can down the road. But I do think there's a scenario where the Cowboys go, you know what? Let's go ahead and redo Dez's contract a little bit and free up some money this year and then worry about it again next year.
You know, the Cowboys tend to be a front office that likes to restructure things. All right, Tom. Let's maybe kind of shift gears a little bit here. We're going to go back to Torrey. The truth is we'll never win with Jason Garrett.
Not a unique take. He has several of those.
Not a hot take at all. The hot take is Harbaugh.
He's not coming back to the NFL.
Well, even if he did, I don't know if he's right for the Cowboys.
I would gladly take Jim Harbaugh.
Okay.
He would
Tom would take Jim Harbaugh.
It'd be fun to have Jim and Jerry next to each other at press conferences. That would be comedy. But he's not coming back to the NFL. So.
All right. You know who may not also come back to the NFL, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny Manziel.
Yeah. This was a rumor, though.
How about Johnny coming to the Cowboys? What do you think?
Hey, I wanted to give this 2 stars because people are most certainly talking. Matt
This was a veto.
Yeah, Brett vetoed it. He said 1 star most. You would have wanted fake news. But look, I get what Matt's thinking here. Like, he made the prediction that if Manziel stays out of trouble, he'll be on the Cowboys' opening day roster in 2019. If he stays out of trouble, which is a big but. Look, we know that Jerry Jones loves Johnny football. He loves him. And we also know that Jerry loves a good redemption story. I hate this idea, but I could totally see it.
Yeah, go
ahead
and throw in those comments there, guys. Do you want the Cowboys to sign Johnny Manziel? I didn't want the Cowboys to draft Johnny Manziel. They didn't draft Johnny Manziel.
Thank God for Stephen Jones, who allegedly, and I buy this.
Stephen Jones is still running the ship. He's the adult in the room.
Hey, he took the card out of Jerry's hands that had Johnny Manziel written on it.
I don't know. That seems like a bit of a rumor, right?
I buy it, though.
You're going to go 3-star on that one?
I'm going 4 stars. Man. I totally believe it.
Was this in like the Book of Secrets or
something
like that?
No, this was in one of the Cowboys books that came out a few years ago and has been reported in other areas. But what Jerry and Steven said is that no, Jerry really wanted him, though. That we know for sure. But in the end, Steven was like, no, we're not doing it. The rest of the draft room was like, yeah, we're not doing that either.
Pretty much everybody is on board with me. And the comments are saying no to Johnny Manziel.
Good. I'm so proud of you guys right now because I agree. I don't want Johnny.
All right, let's talk about another quarterback here, and that's a quarterback that's, of course, near and dear to our hearts. Yeah. Tom, is Tony Romo set to become the next Dallas Cowboys head coach?
Maybe.
We'll get to it after a word from our sponsor, The Guild.
We'll get to it here. Brett, unfortunately for you, it is fake news. They are not going to be Romo is not going to be the next Cowboys head coach. It's not happening.
0 fights that OBJ has won against the Nets.
Shame on Will Kane of ESPN for saying that it makes sense as a replacement. He said he checked several boxes, understands offensive philosophy, and easy.
Is that the only thing that qualifies you as a head coach
nowadays?
Well,
he also can manage Jerry. Those were his boxes that were checked.
It's maybe a decent box to check.
Really, guys? Like, come on. Like, it's I love Tony Romo, and I know you do. I know all the fans do. But the idea of Romo jumping from playing to broadcasting to head coach is like the regional manager going to CEO in a month. Like it's not going to go well.
So Dwight Schrute has jumped.
Andy Bernard is CEO. That's what it would have been. Okay. But it's exactly what I was thinking about when I wrote that line. Look, Romo knows the game. I get that. But it's so different to go from being able to predict plays and knowing offense to actually running a team as a coach. There's a reason it's never happened before. So it's not going to happen. If Romo wants to go be a head coach, he can go be the quarterback's coach. And I know the Cowboys fans wanted him as that. That would have been great. But he's not going to leave his cushy broadcasting job.
Well,
so Romo is not going to be the head coach. Let's stop talking about it.
We literally talked about this on Tuesday about how he's set to pursue his golf dream.
Which would be awesome.
I mean, come on. All right, Calvin here. Romo could be our Nick Foles story.
Look, I have often thought about doing a segment on one of our Sunday/Tuesday shows of what would have happened had the Cowboys traded up for Paxton Lynch.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you how it ends. It ends with Romo being rushed back when he went down with that injury and then getting hurt again.
Yeah.
That's how the story ends. So it would have been great, but look, Romo is not physically able to hold up for 16 games anymore.
All right, 2 more rumors. I'm going to ignore the comment that just came in from one James Yoder. Cowboys lose another assistant coach. What do you think, Tom?
Oh, this one is also 4 stars. First reported by Todd Archer. The Cowboys have lost their assistant coach, Turner West, who was a assistant to the assistant linebacker. It was almost kind of a assistant to the assistant to the assistant. He was a very low-rung coach. He's going to go join Austin Peay. This is not a big loss whatsoever, but it's news, and we wanted to make mention.
It's an interesting move for me. If you were an assistant, even if you were assistant to the assistant of the Dallas Cowboys, to go and join an FCS program that's really not that any good at football. So, interesting one. But, hey, let's talk about a coach that was hired here by the Dallas Cowboys, and that's Doug Nussmeier. He's set to become the next tight ends coach for the Cowboys.
It is another Linehan lieutenant.
Yep.
And that's exactly what this hire is. Now, Nussmeier comes over from Florida, where he was the OC last year. Didn't really go all that well with the bad Gators offense. He's been the OC at Michigan and Alabama. Had a 5-year NFL career as a backup quarterback. And most importantly, he was the quarterback's coach under Linehan when he was the head coach of the Rams. A Linehan lieutenant giving himself, this is the Cowboys giving Linehan and Garrett enough rope to hang themselves with. If it doesn't go well, it's like, hey, Jason Scott, we gave you all your guys. So, sorry, the blame's on you, and you're fired.
All right, the Cowboys coaching staff is set. All right, this is the Cowboys Report. I am Brett Scott. Alongside me is Tom Downey. Let's take a look at the Cowboys coaching staff. There was so much turnover this offseason. So let's start here on the offensive side of the ball, where, of course, Jason Garrett and Scott Linehan return. On the right side of the graphic, you see a lot of new faces in the positional coaching spots.
These are a lot of Linehan's lieutenants. Gary Brown came back. There was interest from the Raiders in having him go be their halfbacks coach. That ended up not happening. Kellen Moore, who I know a lot of the fans don't like because he's a bad actual quarterback, but Brett, we've said this really for months, if not over a year now. Kellen Moore should be a good coach. He's highly intelligent. He knows offenses. I think he's going to be a good QB's coach.
Well, if it means anything, both Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush endorsed the hire.
Which I believe that they like it. I also think, what else are they going to say?
Yeah, I know.
So, Sanjay Lal is your new wide receivers coach. We'll see how he fares. That was an outside hire. Same with Paul Alexander. He comes over from the Bengals, was there for 2 decades, a long-time offensive line coach. And then the most recent one, Doug Nussmeier for the tight ends coach. A Linehan lieutenant has coached under him in the past.
Yeah, Nussmeier comes over after, frankly, some high-profile college jobs. Offensive coordinator in Michigan and Florida. But neither one of those situations went all that well for him.
Agreed.
Now he's a tight ends coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Let's take a look at the defensive side of the ball. Again, the left side of the screen stays the same. Rod Marinelli considered retirement, but he is back for the 2018 season. Few new faces on the right side of your screen. Ben Bloom, Chris Richard, the most notable one, and then Keith O'Quinn at special teams.
I really like these hires, and I think this is actually a great defensive group. Now, O'Quinn and Bloom are blue check marks because they're new hires, but they were promoted, but we're still going to count anyway, just like we did for Kellen Moore. I am a big fan of Marinelli, especially with his work on the defensive line. And then Chris Richard was a home run hire. He interviewed for head coaching jobs. Seattle said, hey, we're going to blow up the coaching staff. For some reason, they got worse at both coordinator spots, as far as I'm concerned. With Richard in as the DB's coach, he replaces Matt Eberflus as that number 2 guy for Marinelli. If things go well for the Cowboys, and they make the playoffs, and they do well, maybe even win the Super Bowl, and Garrett is retained, I think you can see Marinelli retire next year, and Richard becomes your defensive coordinator.
So, Tom, speaking of Eberflus, he was basically offered the defensive coordinator's job for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
Instead decided to go join Josh McDaniels' staff with the Indianapolis Colts, but oh wait, McDaniels' rug pulled out from under. Eberflus is still going to join the Colts, but man, that's a bad situation there.
Yeah, that was rough for Eberflus, and I think he was rightfully upset at McDaniels. I mean, McDaniels, just a quick tangent here, He burned a lot of bridges with that move.
No, you think?
He burned a lot of them.
He burned every single bridge there is.
Except the Patriots one.
Well, he might have a hard time filling staff after, when he becomes the head coach of the Patriots. We'll have to talk to Harris Rubenstein, host of the Patriots Report.
But overall, this is a really good defensive staff for the Cowboys. I think one of the better ones in the NFL.
Yeah, I think they put together a good staff this offseason. All right, those were the coaching changes for the Dallas Cowboys now that they are all set for the 2018 season. All right, Tom. Let's get into it. It's your time of the year.
It is.
Mock draft time, Tom, the number 12 drafter in the country, in the world. So Tom set up a little simulation so that we can talk Cowboys draft. 7 rounds coming up. All right, pick number 1 in the number 19 overall in the first round. Here were the options that Tom got presented with. Tom, who are these guys?
So we did this on FanSpeak. We used the most recent updated big board. This is not quite perfect yet, but we upped the challenge level to make it a little bit more realistic. It's not perfect. There are some guys that fell that shouldn't have, but I think it's a nice little fun exercise to see who the Cowboys could get in the NFL draft. But as I sat there, Maurice Hurst goes off the board. A lot of the big linebackers go. So it's Hernandez and Wynn, the 2 guards who we mentioned on Tuesday's Cowboys Report. Vita Vea, who I love, Rashaan Evans, and Derwin James. Now, I consider James because I like the idea of getting
James falls to 19.
That's
a good pick.
My dream scenario is that either Vita Vea or Derwin James is on the board. Vea was there. He was the pick for me in the first round. I love this kid, Brett. You do not find 340-pound defensive tackles who can play both sides, who can play all 3 downs. You don't find those guys in the NFL. Plain and simple. We got 2 slides here to go through with Vea. Some of his strengths and weaknesses there. His technique does need some work, but I think you put him with Rod Marinelli, he very quickly becomes one of the top 10 defensive tackles in the NFL. He's got that upside. I think he's one of the 10 best guys in this year's draft. Reminds me a bit of Haloti Ngata. He can be a 3-down nose guard, fills that need, and can rush the passer. I think he is a perfect fit for the Cowboys.
As we talk about draft throughout this offseason here on the Cowboys Report, as well as on Chat Sports' NFL Daily, like Chat Sports or NFL by Chat Sports, to get that show, you'll find that Tom is very much a value drafter.
Yes.
So Tom does this with his own fantasy teams as well, but
sometimes
you see a guy with a grade of the top 10 that falls to you at number 19. Tom is the type of guy that is running to the podium, and a lot of times, Tom, that is how teams will play it out.
Look, I think with a guy like Vea, and especially with, I think, the way the draft might work out, teams like the Chargers could take him 1 pick before you.
Yep.
If I'm the Cowboys, knowing I've got a lot of compensatory picks, which you can now trade, I am looking to move up from 19 to like 15 or 14. And I'm open to moving up a lot and down this draft. We have a lot of picks, 10 in total this year, based on the projected compensatory selections. You will see Dallas move up and down throughout this year's draft class.
Yeah, with 10 picks, you have a little bit of that flexibility.
And you don't have 10 roster spots in reality right now for the Cowboys.
All right, let's take a look at round 2. Pick number 50. Here were the options that were presented to you here, Tom. Isaiah Wynn was still on the board in this simulation.
Which surprised me. You see some receivers on the board, James Washington, DJ Moore. There are actually a lot of receivers left. Now, I thought about going receiver. I'm like, you know what? I think I can get somebody in the next round that'll still be there. Thought about linebacker, Vander Esch, Jefferson. Both could go in the first round. But I saw Wynn. I saw the offensive guard, who I think the Cowboys could actually take in the first round. He was the selection here as well.
Yeah, Isaiah Wynn, second-team All-American from Georgia. Good athlete. Did play some left tackle, which could give the Cowboys another good depth backup option that helps when the Cowboys have had some of that injury problem at those positions.
I don't think he's going to be able to be a tackle in the NFL. He's not big enough. He barely checks in above 6'2". He's just over 300 pounds. His arms aren't long enough. He just doesn't have the length and the size to be a left tackle. I do think, though, he's going to be a really good guard in the NFL. NFL.com comped him to Ronald Leary, which I thought made some sense. I went pre-injury Jonathan Cooper. He's got that type of athletic ability. Not quite as good overall, where Cooper was a top 10 pick in that draft class. But I think Wynn is a day 1 starter at left guard. I think he's got the ability to be a 10-year starter as well. He's going to be a really good guard in the NFL. If he falls to the Cowboys at 50, or if he's on the board at 40, go get him.
So far, Tom has picked up 2 big value picks in this draft simulation.
FanSpeak is a little bit broken.
But you didn't pick up a wide receiver yet.
Not
and that's
yet.
where you've been. So let's take a look at round 3 and what fell to you. Oh my, 2 brilliant wide receivers, and Anthony Miller and Michael Gallup. Which one did you run to the podium with?
Deion Kane also on the board. DJ Chark there as well. There were a lot of tight ends, which I actually consider like, ooh, Mark Andrews. Hayden Hurst. Maybe Rico's not the answer. Maybe we go tight end. I saw some linebackers. My mindset was, all right, I'll pass on linebacker. Maybe Baker or Jewell will fall to me, and I'll be happy with that. But I went receiver, and I went with Brett's boy, Michael Gallup of Colorado State. I think he's a really good size, speed, build combo. He doesn't have elite physical traits, but he's above average at all of them. And I think his body control and ability to go up and get passes at the high point is a big factor there. He reminds me a little bit of a poor man's Roddy White. I think he goes round 2, round 3. That's where I've got him graded as we sit right now. He is going to be a very good number 2 wide receiver in the NFL. He's not a number 1 guy, but he's a very solid number 2.
Yeah, Gallup had a lot of production at Colorado State's 100 catches in his senior season. He was the go-to guy there for a 7-win team. Has had some challenges in the classroom. Let's just put it that way. He was
supposed to go to South Carolina, didn't get in, had to go JUCO, had an injury his last year of JUCO, ended up at Colorado State.
So
talent's always been there.
It'll be interesting to see how his stock rises or falls after the combine. All right, so that was pick number 3 in the 3rd round. Let's take a look at round 4 here. Who fell to you at pick 118?
I see Anthony Miller there, and I'm like, oh, man. Should I just double dip at wide receiver, make it happen?
What's going on with this simulation here for Miller to get all the way to 4?
I don't know why Miller fell there. It's based on big boards. Miller was way higher on the big board. He was like an 80 or 90 overall on the big board I was doing, which is about right. And I'm like, ooh, he's there. I'm really tempted. I saw Mason Cole. I want more offensive line depth. I really thought about Cole. I'm like, you know what? I'll go somewhere else. I see Dante Pettis there. I see Quinn Blanding at safety as well. But I'm going with one of my pet cats, Brett. I am going with Jordan Whitehead, the safety from Pitt. He is an incredible athlete and a very versatile defensive back as well. He is the guy that can play free safety, strong safety. He can be that slot nickel corner hybrid at safety as well. I'm a big fan of Whitehead with what he can be. Right now, he's not quite all there yet. Now, he'll hit hard, but he's very undersized. He checks in at like 5'10", 190. Had a suspension this year. Doesn't make a lot of plays on the ball, which does concern me, Brett.
So, Tom, is there a reason you took this guy?
Well, because of my player comparisons.
Yes.
He reminds me of Kenny Vaccaro.
Yeah.
I like that kind of guy. Look, I think he maybe he doesn't become a dynamite safety in the same way that Derwin James does. I know there are some off-the-field issues with White as well, which do need to be checked out. But I think he can be in a similar player to Vaccaro. Can play strong safety, can play some free safety. He played some corner at college as well, so he can hold up man-to-man. He's very versatile. The off-the-field stuff has to be checked out as well, though otherwise Whitehead's not going to make a lot of sense for the Cowboys. But in round 4, I think it's great value here.
So Cowboys have another round 4 pick, this one at 138. Compensatory pick. Here's some guys that were available, including Royce Freeman, the running back from Oregon.
I do want a backup halfback in this draft. Round 4 with a bunch of comp picks makes some sense there. That's solid value for Freeman. I see Quentin Meeks on the board. I like him. He's a good, long, lanky corner. Could be a guy that can play a corner, especially if Cowboys don't move Byron Jones down to corner.
Yep.
I really wanted Mason Cole, but he went off the board 1 pick before me.
Should have taken him at 118 then.
No, because I won Whitehead. So I'm like, okay, that's fine there. I see it through. I'm like, ooh, should I go Miller double dip? I also know that I haven't had a linebacker.
Phil
yet.
says never double dip, by the way.
Always double dip. But
your chip?
Also, yes. I also don't have a linebacker yet for the Cowboys, and we need a linebacker. So I went linebacker, Sean Dion Hamilton. If he is healthy, he doesn't go this late. But the medical is a major concern for Hamilton. He's coming off a torn right ACL in 2016, then fractured his kneecap to end this year. So the medical actually might result in him going way later than this. So we'll see what happens at the Combine. It's a big deal for Hamilton. If he checks out medically, I think this is about the right range. If he doesn't, he could fall. He's got good intelligence, good reactions. I don't know if the speed is quite there yet, and he is a little undersized as well. But you know who he actually reminds me of, Brett? Anthony Hitchens. So there's your replacement if you lose Anthony Hitchens in free agency. They're pretty similar size-wise. I don't know if he holds up in coverage that well. And I do think he profiles as a backup in the NFL. But in round 4, late round 4, almost round 5, because this is a comp pick, you want to find those guys and have them on your roster. I think in round 4, that makes a lot of sense.
Cowboys have another comp pick. They go back-to-back, 138 and 139. All right, Tom, you got to pull the trigger on
I gotta
one of
do
these
it.
guys. Which one did you pull the trigger on?
Anthony Miller is there at the end of round 4.
Dip.
I got to do it. Like, I know this is not ideal.
Why is he still there?
I don't know. Look, weird stuff happens, okay? I've done a couple of these in the past. I had one where Calvin Ridley fell to the second round. Like, it just didn't make any sense. So things get a little weird. I don't think this happens.
It is a simulation.
It is a simulation. But Anthony Miller, he's going to turn 24 in his rookie year. So the age is a bit of an issue there. But he reminds me so much of Sterling Shepard. He's a great route runner. He's pretty dangerous after the catches despite being not all that fast. The size isn't ideal. He's undersized, but I think he's going to be that Sterling Shepard guy who some people think, oh, he's a slot receiver. I don't think so. I think he can play outside. So what you do, you have Michael Gallup, Anthony Miller. You let Terrence Williams go next year. You can keep Switzer as your return guy and as a slot guy. You say maybe goodbye to Noah Brown at some point. But you got Miller, and then maybe you have Dez Bryant too. And at that point, that's a pretty good receiving core and a young one at that. So getting Miller and Michael Gallup with where I got him, I'm ecstatic about it.
Yeah,
super pumped.
You fixed everything because this is going to happen, right?
Yeah, it is going to happen.
Noah Brown played a lot more this year than I expected. He really became that blocking wide receiver.
Yeah, and
the Cowboys
he's very good
wanted.
at that. And Miller's a pretty solid blocker. I think he's maybe a better one than Michael Gallup is, but you do like Brown to have that versatility. But overall, I think getting 2 receivers and Gallup and Miller where I got him, it was just too perfect.
Justin saying should have went cornerback.
We're not.
We
are not going quarterback in this mock draft.
Corner.
DB. Well, Byron Jones is a corner in my simulation, so it's fine. We don't need one. We're set.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. All right,
I considered several. I will say that.
Let's talk about a few new guys here. Round 5, pick 174. Another comp pick here at the end of round 5.
Yeah.
A couple of guys really stand out here. One, Holton Hill, cornerback from Texas. And then one, Shaq Griffin,
I don't know
UCF.
what's going to happen with Holton Hill because on the field, talent only, he's probably one of the top 5 corners in this year's class. Mm-hmm. But his off the field is full of red flags. So we'll wait and see what happens on that.
Like Jerry red flags? Maybe not.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Like there's been some rumblings of some medical or some marijuana issues and some. Look, he got kicked out of Texas more or less by Tom. So Hill is talented, but I have Byron Jones at corner. It's fine there. I also, by the way, DJ Reed, your boy, went off 1 pick before me.
DJ Reed, cornerback from Kansas State.
Yeah,
by the way.
So I'm looking at linebacker again because I think the Cowboys will double dip at linebacker with all these picks and they want to fill out the back of the roster. Jack Cichy has medical concerns. Fred Warner is a great athlete, but he's not the best athlete left at linebacker. That is Shaquem Griffin of Central Florida. Now, only having one hand is going to be an issue for NFL teams. They're going to be like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, how is he going to be able to play? We saw him play at Central Florida. And there was, in particular against Auburn, Griffin was the best player on the field in that game. He was everywhere.
The kid is a stud athlete. He gets all over the field, just flies around. The one hand will be interesting to see how NFL teams approach it and how he approaches it too. But through his career at UCF, it never seemed to really hinder him at all.
Someone's going to draft this guy, and at the absolute worst,
he's going to go on kickoff team and absolutely fly and hit something.
You're going to have a borderline Pro Bowler on special teams. Like that's what he could be. So in round 5, I absolutely love it. I'm down with taking him in round 4 as well. I think he can be that type of guy. Reminds me a bit in terms of the way he plays as Deion Jones, undersized, but is a really good athlete. He's only 6 foot and a quarter. 223 pounds, but the speed is there for Griffin. I love what I've seen him do on the field. I know having only one hand is a big concern for NFL teams and for Griffin, but I think the athleticism overrides that. You got to take a shot on him. I think someone's going to get a really good player at some point, likely on early day 3 in the NFL draft.
All right, Tom, 3 picks left.
And then we'll recap.
You went lower schools, a bunch of guys that people have not heard of.
We're going to get to one
for the most part here. So
again,
let's start here. 176, another comp pick at the end of round
2 picks later,
5.
really no one had changed.
Yep.
So I got my linebacker, so we're not going to go there. I did think about Holton Hill again, but I haven't got my offensive lineman yet, and I want to get someone that I can have potentially be a new swing tackle, and I went with Brandon Parker.
You did get one offensive lineman already.
I did, but I wanted a backup because Wynn's going to start. So I need a backup swing guy. I look at Brandon Parker, a 4-year starter at North Carolina A&T. With Parker, the traits and the production are there. And I like what I've seen out of that in terms of him. The issue is there's not much competition, and he's very raw. He reminds me of Julian Davenport, and one particular reason, he is a massive human being. He is 6'7" and a quarter. Now, he's only 303 pounds, so he's got to bulk up, but I think this is the prime example of a raw offensive lineman who's got long arms, almost 35 and 3/8 inches, so that checks out. He just needs time to develop. You put him in, I think he can be a swing tackle for you. I actually don't know if he lasts this long because teams will see, size and athleticism, and he's just massive as all get out, and they'll take a flyer on him in early day 3, maybe even late day 2, and say, let's see if we can develop this guy, kind of like Julian Davenport, and end up being with the Texans as a late-round pick, or mid-round pick. I like Parker. I'd love it if he's there. Look, the issue for the Cowboys is the offensive tackle classes this year, Brett, is not good. There are some good guys early on, but they're not going to spend a first or second or even third-round pick on the spot, so they're not going to get one of those talented players.
Yep.
So they're going to have to reach or hope that someone falls to them.
All right, that was the last pick of round 5. Let's move into round 6 here. Cowboys pick at 195. Here are your options. Tight end from Notre Dame. How about once you pop, he don't stop? Byron Pringle from Kansas State as well. How about Cameron Petway, though, Tom?
You know, Petway is another halfback. He's a little bigger guy. I don't know if he'd be a perfect fit for the Cowboys, but he was the top guy left. I thought about Damon. If I hadn't taken Jordan Whitehead, I think I would have taken Damon Webb. But I will go with a guy who I promise you guys right now, there is zero chance that this guy falls to Dallas, probably in round 5 or even round 4. That is Nathan Shepard of Fort Hays State. Now, at the Senior Bowl, he wrecked everybody. Like, this is a guy that I had not heard of until the Senior Bowl, and until he got hurt and broke his wrist there, he was unblockable. He was, I think, the biggest Senior Bowl riser. Good size, basically 6'4", 310 pounds. He's from Canada, a bit older than you'd like. He has put on 100 pounds since high school when he was just under 210 pounds. He has the athletic ability, the physical traits, everything you want to see. He's shown the flashes, but he's raw, has not faced level of competition, but he lit up the Senior Bowl. Brett, I think there is an outside shot. He goes in round 1.
That's crazy.
That is how much he impressed people at the Senior Bowl. He reminds me of Larry Ojanobi, who was a Charlotte defensive tackle, went in round 3. I think he goes late round 2, early round 3, somewhere in that range. This is your David Irving insurance, by the way. That's who Shepard can kind of play as, although he's not quite as big.
It's just amazing when guys like this rise up
out of
nowhere. I mean, he could have played school, a couple hours down the road at Kansas State. I wouldn't have minded it. I
mean, this is why you go to the Senior Bowl, because you see these guys that no one had heard of really before, and even most draft analysts are like, who's this guy? And he just destroyed every offensive lineman that he went up against. It was incredible.
All right, one more pick here, Tom, 236.
This is the last pick for the Cowboys here. This is, I'm looking at Heath Harding, a cornerback, because I like him, but I haven't got my scat back yet. So let's look at a halfback here. Levon Coleman I like, but I also like Chase Edmonds out of Fordham, another guy that did very well at the Senior Bowl before he got hurt. Had he not been hurt his senior year at college, and Chase Edmonds is the pick here, by the way, he very well probably would have set the FCS rushing record for a career. He was going to set it before he got hurt, was limited to just under 600 yards. Had a heavy workload. Injuries are a concern. He's a little undersized, checks in at just under 5'9", about 200 pounds here. 31.5-inch arms. He's good. He reminds me of a poor man's Gio Bernard. I don't think he's not as good as Bernard, but that's kind of how he plays in terms of style. But I like Edmonds. If he's there in round 7, even round 6, he can be your new kind of third down back, which I think the Cowboys would like to go out and get. They almost took Donnell Pumphrey in last year's class.
Yeah, go ahead and give Tom a grade here on his simulated mock draft. We're going to have more of these. We're going to get you guys involved in the future as well, where you guys get to make those picks as it comes up.
Fan-led drafts.
We'll take a look at his results here real quick before we exit on the Cowboys Report for this week. Vita Vea there in the first round. Isaiah Wynn, you love it. Michael Gallup, we fixed everything in the first 3 rounds.
We're done.
Done. Jordan Whitehead, Sean Dion Hamilton. Oh, what? Anthony Miller, too,
still
in the
board.
4th round. Shaq Griffin, Brandon Parker, Nathan Shepard, and Chase Edmonds. All right, that's going to do it for this week's Cowboys Report presented by the Guild. Visit stayguild.com. Use that promo code CHATSPORTS for 15% off your stay. For Tom Downey, I am Brett Scott. Tom, we'll see you guys again on Sunday. Later.